Hey guys, turkeys. Christy here with Little Roots Ranch. The turkeys are right next to me. The camera's literally on top of them. Because today, hi boys, I'm gonna have to they ignore food anyway, so they might be a little loud, so I apologize. But Costco, as well as many of your local nurseries, and well, any nursery, I guess, right now is flush with fruit trees. And what does that mean? That means that we buy all the fruit trees. And that's my favorite thing to do every year, is just to get a couple more fruit trees. And today's video is going to be about how to plant those trees, bare root trees, when you get them home. And so today I'm going to be planting an Asian pear tree just outside of my chicken and turkey enclosure, which is why it's so loud. You always hear the turkeys in all my videos, but this one might be extra turkified. Anyways, so if you've purchased or brought home a bare root fruit tree, you might be wondering, what do you do with it? The first thing is that you want to get it planted as soon as you can. Especially, depending on where you're at in the Pacific Northwest, really anytime during the winter, because our ground doesn't necessarily freeze. But the nurseries usually don't carry them until late January, early February. And so that's when you want to get them planted. When you purchase them, and especially when you're going to plant them, you want to think about a couple things. One of them is, what will that tree look like in 10 years? So you want to think about, like, if you have, for instance, if it's near a roof and the roof is going to dump a bunch of snow or water all over the branches, that's one thing to be considered of. If you have a septic system or sewer lines or overhead power lines, or I guess underground ones too, or where your pathways are, driveways, things like that, you want to make sure that you accurately predict, because when you first get the tree, right, it's so tiny, it's like, I don't know, 4 feet tall or 3 feet tall or something like that, but it'll grow into a large tree. Also, what I love about fruit trees is I feel like they are the ultimate way to have fresh fruit for yourself. And what I mean by that is that the cost usually isn't too bad. And then you have to plant them, and watering is really important in the first year. But after that, once they start fruiting, they'll fruit for a very long time, and you can enjoy that. And also, fruit is absolutely amazing. Whereas a lot of other stuff, it's every year, cultivating and things like that. But fruit trees are really nice because they're like the gift that just keeps on giving, which I really, really like. So yeah, when you're thinking about where you're going to put, today we're going to be planting an Asian pear tree. But if you're thinking about where you want somewhere that's well drained, that receives at least, sorry if the camera's moving, I have the camera on the fence and the turkeys keep hitting the fence because they really want my attention. But anyways, you want a place that receives at least 6 hours of sunlight, 6 to 8. More is obviously always better. And like, think about during the summer, the sun's like right above us, right? So it's a lot easier. But like in the shoulder seasons of like fall and spring, like my sun is like way south. Oh, well, I guess all of us, well, unless you're in Australia, but anyways, it would be, and so think about like shadows and stuff like that. And then also think about where would be good. Like, I like to put my fruit trees around animal enclosures. That's my personal thing. That way I can, usually more by the pigs, but so that way when I have fruit that falls to the ground or is unedible, it's an easy trip for me to just go ahead and feed them. Perhaps maybe by a compost pile or something like that might work. And I think I said that you want to make sure the soil is well drained. Most of the fruit trees don't do well with waterlogged soil. Some are better than others, but as a general rule, they don't really like it, and you open yourself up to like diseases and stuff like that. But so yeah, I think we're gonna go ahead and get started. Congratulations on purchasing your bare root fruit tree, if that's what you did. But yeah, so the things that you need are the fruit tree. This one is an Asian pear, semi-dwarf. You can see the size there. This one I got from Costco. I have some from our local nursery orchards, and then I'm going to Flower World on Sunday, so I'm excited about that. Then I've got a bucket of water. It's a smaller bucket. I won't grab it because it took me forever to place it. And so that will serve two purposes. One, soaking the fruit tree while I'm digging the hole, and then also as the water to add back into the hole. Then I've got a gallon of compost that I will mix with the soil for backfilling in with the fruit tree. I've got a shovel for digging, and I've got some clippers. I probably should have grabbed bigger ones like the loppers, but I grabbed these because I don't know, hopefully it's enough. But those are for getting all the roots and stuff out of the hole you dig. And I've got gloves, of course. And I don't think you need anything, boys. The turkeys were trying to add in. I don't think you need anything else. Obviously, as we go along the video, I'll let you know if I miss something. Mulch, I guess, wood mulch. I don't have that yet. I'll use my same bucket later on to go and grab some. But yeah, so we're gonna get started right now. So first thing I'm gonna do is I'm gonna inspect the root ball, because I wanna look for like what type of shape it is. Because even among the same trees, the root balls might be wider or longer or offset to one side. And so I want to make sure that the hole accommodates that. I'm also going to soak the root ball while I'm digging. Now, if you get pulled away, because I get it, life happens, you don't want to leave your tree just soaking in there, because obviously it'll get waterlogged or whatever. So it's, up to a half hour or whatever. If you can dig the hole quickly, then that's no problem. But yeah, that's the first thing I'm going to do, is inspect that, and then that'll tell me a little bit of information about the hole. So hold on just a moment. Okay, so here I've got my root ball. Let's see, can you see me if I'm down here? Kind of. Just trying to open the package. That my pocket. So usually they're in some kind of wood chips or something like that, and you want to be real careful that you're not just pulling. So I generally try and hold it by the base. Some of them are easier than others. Oops, you can see the wood chips falling out. And just try and slowly work it out. Some are easier than others, like I said. Okay, and then I try and save some of the wood chips that are in there. I'll set those aside. And so here is what the bottom looks like. I don't know if you can see that. But so this is the root ball. Obviously this one in particular is a very small root ball. And then here, so fruit trees are almost always grafted. And if you look real carefully, I don't know if it'll come across in here, but I can see where it was grafted, and then looking for the scar, which the scar is back here. I don't know if you can see that, but the scar you'll want to put facing north so it doesn't get sunburned. It's the weakest part of the tree. Right here, and then I'll turn it to the other side. Usually you can tell they're like different sizes, but the scar, the cut mark, is the one that stands out, and that's going to be above the root ball. So what you don't want to ever do is cover this, because if you fill the dirt to, like, say here, what would happen is that you don't want the base to send off like little trees, branches, whatever. You want this part, because this is the Asian pear. This is, of course, is also Asian pear, but it's going to be a different type of Asian pear. The rootstock, trees obviously grow really big, as we all know, and fruit trees are no different, but you can't harvest from like a 40-foot, apple tree, pear tree, plum tree, whatever. And so that's why they use smaller rootstock. So this is a semi-dwarf, I believe, rootstock, but still with the flavor of this specific type. I think Sensiki I have to check which variety of Asian pear it is. I have 3. But, so that's what I'm gonna be looking at. So now that I see root ball is pretty compact, not too much to this particular one at all, really. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna go ahead and soak that, and then I'm gonna dig the hole. So I'll just set this in my bucket of water. And then I'm gonna dig my hole. I'm gonna put it in fast mode because I'm sure you don't wanna watch me digging the whole time. But basically, I'm gonna be digging a square hole. It's circular hole is fine. I've read that square holes are more efficient, so I do that, but I don't know if it really makes a difference. And then cutting out any roots that I come across, and making sure it's twice as big as the root ball, which the root ball is actually really small. So I think I might go ahead and do it like 3 times and make it a little wider, and just really make sure that I'm breaking up that soil so that when the new roots, when it comes out of dormancy, that they can just head out into that compost / soil mixture and have their best life, because I obviously want what's best for my fruit trees. So I will show you a video of that. One thing that I wanted to mention is that it's really important when you're selecting your fruit trees that you purchase ones that will cross-pollinate each other, or that they're self-fertile. It's really important. Okay, so turkeys. So I got my hole dug, and sorry about the tree in the back. We had a windstorm and it fell over, and it was pretty bad because our chicken coop is actually like right there, our chicken run. They have an 1/8 acre, and it actually fell on the fence. But luckily we've got like a big tall fence or whatever, and so it didn't injure it. But we had to like cut it down, and we haven't done anything past, but I need to take care of that. But anyways, I've got my hole dug. I did forget one other tool that you need, and basically it's like a stick. It could be anything. This happens to be a hoe, but it could be a level or a T-post or a cane or anything, a straight stick, anything basically that you can lay across so you can get where center is. So now that I've got my hole dug, and I'm gonna go ahead and grab my root ball and kind of just get a size, like a feel for how it's gonna fit in there. Remember, I had that soaking in water. Sorry, I try not, you know, my voice is really like energetic and loud, but when it's loud like that, the turkeys go crazy. So, but anyways, so if you look, they have what's called a watermark. And so you can always tell where the tree was in the ground at the nursery. This one is a little bit harder to tell. Let me take my glove off. Actually, this one is a lot harder to tell. Oh, no, I think that might be it. Yep, I'm pretty sure that's it. It seems a little low though, or a little high. Okay, so I don't think this one's harder than most to tell. I don't know if you'll be able to see it. Oh, I don't think it's showing up on the camera at all. Let me see, where's a better angle? You can just, usually they're more obvious, but you can see just a slight difference in the color. It's not coming off in the camera, but on your fruit tree, especially when you're looking at it, it should be easier. This is like one of the most difficult that I've seen. You can also look at like where you see like little root structures where you can tell that they've been in the ground or whatever. But so once I've got that area, what I'm gonna wanna do is make sure that it's level. And actually, just because you're planting it, you're gonna wanna put it a little bit above grade, like say 1 inch, because the ground will settle, you know, and that's what's important. So if I look down, I've got like a couple inches down at the bottom. And so that's what I'll have to fill back in. But what I'm gonna do is take some of my compost and my soil and kind of mix that up and then put that a little down there. And then, because this doesn't have an extensive root system, and so I'll kind of push that in there. So I will set this tree down, grab my bucket of compost, and then I'm gonna grab some of my native soil and be mixing it in. Making sure not to include any of the, what's it called? Like the top layer that have like maybe grasses or weeds or whatever. And I think I mentioned it before, maybe not, but fruit trees love organic matter, which is compost. All right, so I've got that all mixed in. Probably can't tell from that angle, so I'm just gonna put it down at the bottom. Then I'm gonna test my tree. That's about right, but I want to put it just a little bit more because it's right at grade right now. And I want it to be above grade because it will settle, of course. All right, so that should be about right. So I'll do the test again. Every time I start talking after a little break, the turkeys yell. So again, sorry. All right, so that puts me right at slightly above grade. Now, you want to check, obviously, the tree. I don't know if you can see it from your angle. Then you want to step back and make sure that it's growing straight. So right now I have the root ball straight, but my tree is not straight. And it's kind of cradled in the compost natural soil mix, which is why it's standing and leaning against my prop. So what I'm gonna do is try and turn it a little bit so that I could get that tree as straight as possible. You might need to switch your cane, stick, whatever, to the opposite side to help support it. Then I'm gonna step back and look to make sure it looks straight. Also, you might notice a chicken walking around. That's Critty Cat. She's my favorite chicken. And I actually named her after, my name's Christy and her name's Christy, but I call her Critty Cat. And she basically just follows me all day, every day on the farm. I don't think she's coming to camera, but she's probably about on her way. Or she's gonna go eat my bagel I need to finish. That's probably more likely. But anyways, so I'm gonna check, make sure the tree is straight. Okay, so that looks good to me. So now I'm gonna go ahead and, turkeys, I'm gonna go ahead and backfill it. So I'm gonna mix up a little bit more of that compost natural soil mix because I used all the other stuff. Pulling out the little, I don't know if you can see them, the little roots as they come along. Hi, boys. All right, and get that added in. Hi, boys. Then when you've got about halfway full, you just want to very gently tap it down with your shoe, boot, whatever, and affirm firm it in there. Sometimes you pull up just a hair, tighten it around, and then of course you want to make sure that it's still straight after that movement. So, yep, that looks good. Pretty Cat's closing in on my bagel, so don't know if she sees it yet. I'll have to go save it from her. But yeah, fruit trees are really excellent. I love them because they just keep giving, and a lot of times they're those early blooms come summertime or springtime, I'm sorry, and they're so pretty. You can look up like different trees that fruit different colors. Usually it's like pinks or whites or whatever. All right, so I feel pretty secure in this little tree, so I'm going to grab the water that it was soaking in. It's not all the way full, but I want to slowly add the water. Water is actually really important in your first year, especially the summer. And so your fruit tree is going to need about 1 inch of water a week. And that's better to do one solid soaking as opposed to a little bit of water every day. But if it's really hot out, like the heat wave we had last year, you'll actually want to do both just to make sure it's hydrated, because the roots or systems are so small right now. Another thing, and I know that you're going to get mad about this, but the other thing that you want to do is that you want to pick off the blossoms in the first year. Obviously, with no blossoms, that means no fruit. But trust me, you will have because you want the tree to put its effort into, into creating a strong root system that'll like reach down and get all the nutrients and the water and all of that jazz. And that's really important. But if your tree is focusing on fruiting, you'll have reduced harvests in the long run. Ultimately, you can do whatever you want to do, clearly. But my recommendation is to bite the bullet and just wait. Okay, so I'm getting this all pressed in here. Of course, it's all wet from pouring the water in there, so it's a little jiggly. But, so basically what I'm gonna wanna do is I wanna confirm that still everything's nice and flat. I wanna add just a teeny bit amount of soil. And then I'm gonna come through and I'm gonna put 2 to 4 inches of wood chip, the size of the canopy. Now this has got a smaller canopy, so probably just right about here. And that helps keep it mulched for a few different reasons. You don't want the grass competing with your young, like the camera's lower. You don't want the grass competing with your young fruit trees because they just can't compete well. And also you want to help retain that moisture because water is crucial in the first year. So it's really, really important that you keep them well watered and using deep waterings. But yeah, like I said, I'll show a quick video of the wood chips, but basically that's everything. And now you just keep on. I don't ever prune in the first year. Oh, one thing I did want to talk about. So there is a thing of to stake or not to stake. And I'll tell you, I never stake my fruit trees. I think I have like 27 fruit trees and I have never staked them. I'm of the thought that I think it weakens the root system by like having that support, but other people think that it strengthens the root system. I live in a pretty windy area. I do have a lot of like natural trees around. I guess ultimately it's your call whether you like double stake it or plant one or one stake in your prevailing wind direction or whatever. But it's up to you. I personally don't stake my trees, and I do just keep an eye on them. And last year, I think I planted like 25 of them, and there was only one that was off to the side a little bit, but just after planting, and I stood it up and firmed it down a little bit, and it's been fine. Also, if you're a little off to the side, it's not too big of a deal. The trees will always grow in the direction of the sun. So even if it's a little bit to the side, it'll slowly curve up. I mean, if it's dramatic, it'll have more of a like curve. But yeah, so anyways, this fruit tree, this Asian pear, I can't wait for a couple of years to get some fruit. But I'm gonna go grab some wood chips. One other thing that I did want to mention is that if you have pests like rabbits or deer or something, I don't have deer, but I do have rabbits. And so they cause a lot of problems for my little fruit trees. But what I do is I collect a bunch of fallen like sticks and logs, whatever, and I loosely pile those kind of like linking logs around the outside, giving like air gap for the baby tree. But I kind of stack them in like either a triangle or a square around that to protect the rabbits from coming up and eating. And I recommend checking your fruit trees often to make sure. But you'll see like little nicks in the bark if you're having pests eating your fruit trees. And there's nothing worse than getting the tree attacked by something. They do make, what's it called? I think they're called tree teepees or something like that, or a wrap, but basically something that goes around the tree, and that always works. I always am just planting too many trees for it to be economical for me. But if you're just doing like 1 or 2 trees or whatever, it may not be a bad idea to purchase one of those. So I wanted to add that in too. Okay, turkeys. So I've got my fruit tree here. I put a little bit of the sawdust that came with it on top. And then I'm just gonna go ahead and add in my wood chips here, which are knocking my tree over. But I'm going to spread them out. I'll likely grab another, and I'm pulling them away from the root ball. Make sure that's still straight. All right. And then all that's left is to grab some sticks. This isn't like the best example, but it's just for quick till I can go grab some. But basically, excuse me, basically building a little structure around it to keep the rabbits off with stuff I just have lying around. But yeah, that's how you plant a fruit tree. And so I'm really excited for you to be able to plant yours. And I've got a whole, my turkeys are crazy. Hi boys. I've got a whole bunch more I've got to get planted. So I guess I'll get to that. Thanks for watching. Bye, happy gardening.